Welcome to Spa's Bike Layout, a unique variation of the legendary Belgian circuit. This 6.8km version retains iconic sections like Eau Rouge, Verdillion and Blanchemont, but with a revised flow for better rhythm and control, it's perfect for the close quarter nature of touring car racing. Guide timestamps are located in the video description below. These basic TCR guides are perfect for newcomers to the series or anyone needing a refresher on braking points, gears and racing lines. This guide includes fixed setup laps from multiple touring cars and a baseline wet lap to prepare you for variable weather conditions. Join our free hosted practice session every Monday at around 4:30 PM GMT to hone your skills before race week. Check the links below for the TCR Core Community Discord, your hub for TCR tips, races and leagues. Throw a like plus a subscribe on the video and channel. Don't forget to turn notifications on so you don't miss another video. A legendary circuit with a slightly modified middle section for the bike layout, Spa will bring participation, so let's give you a head start over the rest. Going down the start straight, a prime overtaking opportunity, but just past the 100 board on the left hand side is where you want to be braking. Get down to your lower gears and sweep it around. Keep your inputs really smooth and onto the throttle as soon as possible because speed and momentum is everything for the next long section. Now, your next challenge is going to be maximising your speed and exit out of Eau Rouge and Verdillion. Coming up now, Eau Rouge, the first part of this famous uphill corner, you're going to be wanting to take as much of the curb on the left as possible to open the uphill 3 and 4. On the first lap, you might need to lift slightly because the understeer on cold tyres is going to be absolutely horrendous. Once the tyres are warmed up, you should be able to take this corner with as much speed as possible, minimising your steering inputs once you've hit the apex on the right hand side. Use that momentum and speed to carry on going. Trying your best not to get any off tracks, as those do turn to slowdowns, which is a worse scenario imaginable when you're pack racing or trying to break a slipstream. Down the straight, you're going to be finding a lot more defensive and attacking slipstream opportunities. For the sake of the hot lap, where the curbing begins on the left hand side is where you are going to be braking down the gears. After braking, you want to be sweeping your car around following the right hand side curb, a little bit tighter to open up the following corner at 6. Take a lot of that inside curb, but get yourself over to the left to once again open up the following corner, maximising the use of the exit curbing after what should have been a very smooth chicane. We will move down to Rivage. But you'll notice as you approach 8, the start of the curbing is once again good baseline brake point. Experiment braking later to test your limits, as we do here. You'll be braking downhill, so be very smooth with your braking inputs as you trail brake and hug the corner. Be extremely patient on the throttle. You don't need to go all the way to the left hand side here, but get yourself to the right as soon as possible so you can open up the bike layout turn 9. A slightly blind crested corner, you only need the tiniest dab of brakes to rotate the car. The elevation change will take you out wider. There's plenty of exit track that you're allowed to take to carry on your momentum. Turns 10 and 11 are tricky on colder tyres, but when warmed up, this little metallic box is a perfect braking zone. A harder dab on the brakes, but lifting into the turn 10 and gently applying the throttle will stop you from running too far wide and execute the slow in, fast out. Using a diamond line and hitting both apexes, swing to the right hand side on the exit before drifting very slowly to the left for another chicane. Now, I'm starting to sound a bit like a broken record here, but the start of the curbing is once again the suggested braking point. Utilising the same techniques as you did in the first chicane, you need to be sticking to the insides and opening up the following corners. Patience in the throttle here is key here to stop you running wide and potentially ruining your laps. And once again, where the curbing starts, brake. You can carry decent speed here, just be careful not to overrun into the kitty litter. Once you've finally hit that apex, you can slowly put your foot down, and once your foot is down, keep it down. You're going to get quite a few side-by-sides up these following corners and through the legendary Blanchemont. It just depends how brave you feel if you're going to finish the battle on top. How you enter and exit turns 14 and 15 could very well shape the rest of your lap. After a quick turn 16, you approach 17, Blanchemont. If you do find yourself in a situation where you're going to be too wide, then you need to lift very slightly, just like you may have to in lap 1 with colder tyres to avoid an off track from running too wide. The bus stop chicane, there's no clear brake marker here. The zone after the white paint line, just before the 100 board disappears from view, and perhaps later than I've done this demonstration, is where I'm suggesting that you use as a baseline to brake in a straight line. You can use a little bit of the curb on the left hand side to open up the chicane, mounting a late apex on the first half with light throttle application. As you open up the second half, avoid the sausage part of the curb on the second part to ensure a smooth exit, using all of that exit curb as well in a sprint towards the finish. I'm not the quickest in the vein, but the next lap is both a good baseline to beat and showcases alternate lines and where puddles emerge in wetter conditions. For those racing with the Audi TCR's different gearbox, here's your own hot lap. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and explore the channel for more content. Drop a comment with what you're racing this week and check the video description below for links to Discord, Twitch and more. See you next video, take care of yourselves, most importantly, take care of each other.
Bye.